Okay, I got another one for you. This one is called Look for Invitation, Not Invocation. Let me get this dictionary up real quick because I think we need to define that real quick. So let me get this dictionary up. But this right here is for the person who believes they are supposed to be somewhere in life. Okay? You believe you're supposed to be somewhere in life. You're not there. You may be 100% certain you're supposed to be over there. You might be 50% certain you're supposed to be over there, but somehow, some way you believe you were supposed to be in a place in your life that you are currently not in. And so you strive to get to where you think you should be in life. And one thing I've learned in life, one thing God's taught me is when you are stepping into his calling for your life, look for invitation, not invocation. Okay? And so let's look at what that word invoke means. It means the action of invoking something or someone for assistance. It can mean that a calling upon for authority or justification. So I want to bring your attention to, you're going to see how this is going to come together. Let's look at 1 Kings chapter 1, verses 7 through 10. And this is what it reads. And he conferred with Joab, the son of Zeruiah, and with Abiathar, the priest. And they following Adoniah helped him. But Zadok the priest and Benaniah the son of Jehoiada, however you say his name, and Nathan the prophet, and Shimei and Ray and the mighty men which belonged to David were not with Adoniah. And Adoniah slew sheep and oxen and fat cattle by the stone of Zeholith, which is by Enrogel, and called his brethren the king's son and the men of Judah the king's servant. But Nathan the prophet and Benaniah and the mighty men and Solomon his brother he called not. So let me tell you what's going on here before we break this down. King David is old and he is getting ready to die. And he has sons, right? And we know David used to get around, but he has sons. And this son here, Adoniah, thinks to himself, I'm going to become the king. I'm going to put on this show that shows that I'm the king. I'm going to slay these oxen. I'm going to have a banquet. I'm going to do all these things and claim that I'm the king. Right? That's what he's doing. He's inviting himself. No one invited him to be king. But in his mind, he thinks, I'm supposed to be king. Why else would he do it? Right? But look who's not with him. The powers that be that would invite him to become king are not with him. So look at this. I want to share a few thoughts with you. Number one is Adoniah invited himself and tried to take over the throne, but he chose not to invite those who could have and would have called him out about claiming that he is king. The second thing is Adonai. Oh, this is a big one right here. Oh, this is a big one. See, when we're stepping into something, either God has called us to step into that or he has not. And when we step into something that God has not called us to step into, even though we want it for ourselves, we step into that with worldly power, not with supernatural power. Look at this. Adoniah has superficial worldly power, but the real power, which is only given by God, which can only come through King David and the prophet, is missing. Adoniah is stepping into something that he thinks is for him. He may be 100% certain that it is for him. He may be 50% certain that it is for him, but he decides to go and step into it with a superficial worldly power. The power that would come through God through the working of David and the prophets is not with him. Solomon is the opposite. Solomon is not present when everyone goes unto King David We see that Solomon didn't even invite himself. Solomon didn't even invite himself to say, Dad, you said I was going to be king. Solomon didn't invite himself to plead his cause before the king, even though he would have had every right. This led Solomon to being invited. He was invited to ride the king's mule. God is on Solomon's side. And what does that mean? Here's what that means for you in your life. God will use people of power to plead your case for you, to speak for you on your behalf, just as he did for Solomon. We see that the hastiness of Adoniah and his thoughts of slaying sheep and oxen was a waste of money. We've heard it before. Haste makes waste. This is a great reminder that haste makes waste, and he who is hasty to make himself wealthy shall not be blameless. No doubt in my mind, there was a lot of power that would come with being king, a lot of wealth that would come with being king. But God's power wasn't with him. So as you listen to this, here's what I want you to think about. What is that thing, that endeavor that you're going after? Who is that person that you're going after? What have you been considering in life that you have a desire to seize? Now, the steps that you are taking to seize that opportunity, to build that relationship with that person, what kind of power do you have? Is it worldly, fleshly, earthly power? What will that bring in your life? Or is it God ordained supernatural power? And God is saying, I don't always call the equipped, but I will equip those that I have called. So who is calling you into that thing that you're moving and pressing towards? Is it God? Or is it something or someone else? Pray about that. And at the end of the day, look for invitation, not invocation. We are reminded that when King David was called to be king, watch this. Oh man, this is good. Watch this, watch this, watch this. Let me pull it up for you. When God told Samuel to go and find the next king of Israel, he said, go see Jesse, right? Go find Jesse and his sons, right? Who was not invited? Oh, this is good. When Samuel was there looking at David's sons, who was not invited? David was not invited by his own father, his earthly father. David was not invited by his earthly father, earthly power, world power. And when Samuel looks at his sons, he says, is that it? And God says, this is not the king for you. And Jesse says, I have one more son. And David was invited. Now, even though that invitation happened through the mouth of Jesse, who prompted it? It was Samuel, a prophet. But where did it really start? It started with God saying, this is not the one I have chosen. So David's invitation truly comes from God through a prophet. David was uninvited. He was not invited by worldly power, which was his earthly father. His earthly father left him in the fields with sheep poop. But his heavenly father invited him in and used someone else in a position of power, which in this case was the prophet Samuel. Man, that's good. That's good. So look for invitation in your life from God as you step into things that you think are for you. Pray about those things and wait upon the Lord and see what he has for you. And let me get you the verses real quick. Oh, you was like, man, you up here talking about the Bible, bro, and you ain't even got your verses right. I know. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. Here, I'm pulling it up. I'm pulling it up. I'm pulling it up. Right here. First Samuel chapter 16 verse 10 is where we are starting. And Jesse made 7 of his sons pass before Samuel. And Samuel said unto Jesse, the Lord hath not chosen these. And Samuel said unto Jesse, are here all thy children? And he said, there remaineth yet the youngest, and behold, he keepeth the sheep. And Samuel said unto Jesse, send and fetch him. This man is invited by God through Samuel. This is what I'm talking about. For we will not sit down until he comes hither. He said, you can't even sit down in your own house. This is how God works. This is the power of God. This is how God works through people who have power. Only God can send a man. Only God can send a person that can say to say to people in your life, you can't even sit down in your own house until you go get him. God will put people in your life to step into your workplace and say, you can't even hire another employee till you go talk to them first. God will send people into your family and say, hey, we're not even celebrating another holiday until we get this right. Imagine that this man steps into another man's house and say, you can't even sit down until you go get him. That's how God works when he's inviting you. And Samuel said unto Jesse, send and fetch him, for we will not sit down till he come hither. And he sent and brought him. Now he was ruddy and withal of a beautiful countenance and goodly to look to. And the Lord said, arise, anoint him, for this is he. Look for that invitation. That's all I'm saying. Hopefully this is a blessing to you. Sometimes it's okay to go slow, as long as you're in the Lord's time, and that's all that matters. Look for invitation from God, and that's all you need. If you don't have that invitation, you're right where you need to be. And when that invitation comes, be ready to move on it, because you're right where you need to be, and you are ready to step into it when you need to. One more point about that. They knew Samuel was coming, so Jesse's 7 sons are probably dressed really nice. They're ready. But the one that was to be anointed came in dirty and smelly. When God calls you and invites you, you may not look like you're ready on the outside. But God, in his infinite wisdom, knows what's on the inside. He knows what he's going to put in you. He knows what he's already put in you. So you are ready when God invites you. Don't let the enemy make you say to yourself, I don't have these skills. I don't look right. I don't smell right. I'm not tall enough. You remember when God called Moses, he says, I don't speak well. God says, I got somebody for you. Moses was invited. When you are invited, God will give you and has already given you everything you need. All we have to do is wait and be patient in the Lord and come when he invites. Hope this has been a blessing to y'all. Have a good day.